For most of the last 30 years, competitive advantage in business had a relatively predictable shape. You hired better people, you built better systems, you invested in infrastructure your competitors couldn't match, your processes were faster, your team was sharper, your delivery was more reliable. That capacity to execute was itself a moat. This is the second video in our AI-driven enterprise series, a series for business leaders who feel the pressure to move faster but want to move wisely. Today, I want to challenge how a lot of organizations seem to approach implementing AI in their organizations. The assumption is that AI is primarily an execution story. Automate workflows, move faster, do more with less. It is, but for directors and executives, that's only the first half of the picture. Additionally, if you stop there, you may have built a monument on a foundation that's continually shifting. For the last 30 years, execution was genuinely hard. It required capital, talent, time, coordination across teams, specialist skills that took years to develop. If you could do it and your competitors couldn't, the gap was real. But what happens to that moat when execution becomes cheap? And in some industries today, really cheap, approaching zero. Because depending on your business, that is the structural shift that AI is introducing, either in part or in whole, and not only today, but in the coming years. In our last video in the series, we talked about latency, how traditional companies deliberate in quarters, while AI-native competitors move in hours. We now have AI tools that handle software development, documentation, research, data analysis, and process design. A product manager with no engineering background can build a working prototype in an afternoon. A team of 4 can do what previously required a team of 20. Recently, the New York University Stern Business School ran a buildathon. Students using AI-assisted platforms to build functional products in compressed timeframes. What took weeks of development cycles now happens in hours. And here's what the research revealed. It wasn't the teams who built the fastest that pulled ahead. The teams who won were the ones who stayed longer in the uncomfortable, messy conversation about what they were actually building and why it mattered. The execution had become table stakes. The thinking was where the edge lived. That distinction matters enormously for how you think about competitive advantage right now. If execution is no longer scarce, if almost anyone with the right tools can build, deliver, and automate, then the moat built on execution capacity is dissolving. The natural response to AI pressure is operational, but there's a paradox here that the AI hype crowd and the big AI houses don't want you to consider. Speed without direction is just automated chaos. We know that because in 2023, researchers ran a controlled experiment. They gave AI agents full autonomy to run simulated companies. No human oversight, just agents acting on their own. As expected, chaos. Hallucinations compounded, bad decisions multiply at machine speed. But this highlights an important principle. When you remove human judgment from the loop entirely, there's nothing to catch the errors. In a real business, those errors could expose customer data, breach compliance, or introduce a calculation mistake that hemorrhages margin before anyone notices. So while AI-native competitors are fast, they are also fragile. From these experiments and others released recently, we are seeing that organizations who are struggling most with AI adoption aren't the ones moving too slowly. They're the ones moving quickly without first doing the harder, quieter work of getting their strategic picture clear, moving without inserting human judgment and learning into the process correctly. And in a world where AI execution is cheap, the competitive advantage is changing to the quality of your strategic reasoning and learning. With AI prompting this change, the question is, are you automating your operations without updating your thinking? If we observe how a number of knowledge organizations deploy AI currently, there seems to be a trend that AI reduces the need for human collaboration. We find each person has a single-player AI tool. They optimize their prompting by themselves to move faster, and they build without the coordination overhead, which feels like an unnecessary weight. At the execution layer, that might be true, but at the strategic layer, it's exactly backwards. When AI handles the how, when building becomes fast and cheap, it increases the necessity of human collaboration for the what and the why. And those questions don't yield to individual intelligence. They require the friction of different viewpoints colliding. There's an African proverb that is pertinent here. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. The NYU research found this explicitly. Teams that used AI in isolation, each person in their own workflow with their own AI chatbot, generated volume but lost direction. They suffered from information overload and limited perspectives. Teams that stayed in a shared thinking space, using AI to execute, but keeping the strategic conversation collective, built faster and built better things. Their capacity to use AI was greater because judgment about what to build with it was sharper. The researchers realized having people in the room who see the problem from genuinely different angles improves the value of the outcome in an AI-enabled team. Think about what that means for your leadership team. The executives who feel the pressure to automate individually, to move fast, to show AI adoption, they may be solving for the wrong variable. The variable that's increasing in value is collective clarity about what you're optimizing for. So I'm curious to know your perspectives on these findings. Are you guys seeing this play in practice? Let me know in the comments. So let's bring these findings back to our perspective on competitive moats. The things AI native startups cannot replicate will still hold, like your brand, your customer relationships, your regulatory position, and your unique institutional knowledge. They took time to build, and they compound with trust, but your execution moat is potentially dissolving. And the organizations that understand this are asking a different question. Not, how do we protect what we've built by running it faster? But, what do we need to think more clearly about together so that what we build with AI actually compounds our distinctive position? 3 things shift when you accept that. Number 1, the upstream work gets protected. The messy, slow, uncomfortable conversation about what problem you're actually solving becomes something leadership actively defends, not something it rushes through so as to get back to operational work. 2, you stop measuring team value by output velocity and start measuring it by the quality of problem or decision definitions. The person who slows the room down to ask, what are we actually solving for, is adding more value than the person shipping fastest. 3, the cost of ambiguity goes up sharply. In a world where you can execute quickly, vague strategic direction produces expensive mistakes at AI speed. Structural AI adoption isn't primarily about your workflows alone. It's about whether your strategic thinking is clear enough to be worth accelerating. So in summary, AI is commoditizing execution. What took months now takes days. What required teams to execute now requires an individual with the right tools. That is genuinely good news for organizations that are ready for it. But it changes what competitive advantages are built on. The moat is no longer, we can build faster than you, we have more capital than you. The moat now is, we know what to build and why, better than you do. And our leadership team is aligned around that in a way yours isn't, which means the return on effort for creating a clear strategic picture just rose significantly. That's not an argument for slowing down. It's an argument for making sure that when you accelerate, you're accelerating in the right direction. The Rakers platform was built to help leadership teams get that picture clear, the choices, the priorities, the reasoning, and keep it clear as the organization and the environment change around it. Our core premise is that AI does the analysis and surfaces the questions, while humans own every answer. In our next video, we explore a framework for immediate action, parts of which you might be working on already, but all of which need consideration before sleeping at night. It becomes a little easier. Subscribe now if you don't want to miss it, or follow us on LinkedIn. The link is in the description. And please share with those in your network who might value these perspectives. Until next time, cheers.